All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Peter Voogd, founder of the prestigious Game Changers Academy, and thank you guys for tuning into our monthly Millionaire video series where we interview the world's most elite and successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, entertainers, and true game changers. People that I personally have massive respect for who are making a huge difference, not just in their industries, but in the world. And you guys are in for a very special treat today as we have a true game changer. He's a retired Navy SEAL and the only member of the U.S. Armed Forces to complete SEAL training, including 2 Hell Weeks, the U.S. Army Ranger School, where he graduated as enlisted honor man, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. He's one of the best in the world when it comes to maximizing potential, developing mental toughness, and really pushing past limits. He's an ultra marathon runner, ultra distance cyclist, triathlete, a former world record holder for the most pull-ups done in 24 hours. He's completed over 60 ultra marathons, triathlons, and ultra triathlons. He's the best-selling author of Can't Hurt Me, which is an absolute game-changing book that you guys all want to get. We'll talk about this a little bit later. And he's someone who ran 200 plus miles without stopping. And this guy had a brutal childhood. Joe Rogan says he firmly believes it's people like David that could really inspire the world to push harder and dig deeper. And he's the definition of walking the walk and leading by example. Enough talking. You guys know who he is, Mr. David Goggins. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I want to start with this. It's been fascinating diving into your story and the content you've created, how you came to be who you are now. I want to start with this so people have context. This statement stuck with me. You said, I hated what I saw in the mirror so much, I had to make a change. A lot of people hate what they see in the mirror, but they get worse and do nothing. What was the difference? Can you kind of talk about that statement and what that meant to you?
Yeah, man, period, dot. So the shit haunted me. So a lot of people can look in the mirror and they get that one little glimpse of, like it's like a quick snapshot of themselves. And then they have the ability of walking away from that mirror, and that mirror stays where it's at. They go where the fuck they gotta go, but it doesn't stay with them. That snapshot stayed with me everywhere I went, when I slept, when I ran, anything I did, in my car, spraying for cockroaches. Everywhere I went, that snapshot haunted me. So it's kind of like this, man. Have you ever been in a fight before and there's this guy that wants to beat your ass and you know that you can't beat his ass and you're a little bit scared and he's telling you that he's going to beat your ass next week? For the whole week, you're nervous. The whole week, you're scared. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't eat. You can't sleep. That's what it did to me. I was haunted by my own reflection. So that's what made me change, man. So just being scared.
Was it looking at yourself so much, being disgusted, that it was like, I'm sick of it? Was it like your back was against the wall and you had a tipping point, or was it a buildup? Do you remember?
It was a buildup over a lot of years. I'm sure we'll get into my childhood and stuff like that, but it was a buildup over a lot of years of me just trying to build I wasn't handling what was deep inside me. I was literally just handling surface issues. So what happened was, over a period of time, when you continue, I was putting layer over layer over layer over all these insecurities. And after a while, man, I just broke. So
going back to the breaking point, like that tipping point moment, because a lot of people maybe haven't had that, or they have, but going from there to the Navy SEALs to now being one of the most sought after speakers and influencers on the planet,
right.
what was the action steps right after that? So was it, I need to enlist in something that's going to really callous my mind and challenge me? And obviously it's in the book and I've read it, but for you, do you remember, like, once you were so disgusted, what was that next, like, self-talk to you?
So what it was, man, so I broke way before this, but I had to go back to my father. So my father is the one that started the breaking point for me. So you have to go back to the root of the fucking problem. And I was avoiding that. I hadn't seen my father in years. My father beat the hell out of me. My father was an alcoholic. My father was a successful guy in his own right, but he had a lot of demons. and those demons fell off of my brother, me, my mom. So he beat the shit out of us almost every day. So that started my poor foundation. So now I'm like 22, 21 years old, almost 23, around there somewhere. And I was a piece of shit. I gained 125 pounds. I was out of shape. I was fat. I was making $1,000 a month spraying for cockroaches, and my life was going nowhere. And I sat back and said, hey, I got to go face the demon. So we had to go back to where the problem started, where the problem originated. And I went back, faced my father after years, and I saw him. You know, we never apologized to each other. It was what it was. But the whole key point of all this, man, is you have to go back to the problem. A lot of people may have a sore knee, but it doesn't mean you have a bad knee. It might mean you got fucked up hip. So a sore knee doesn't always mean you got a bad knee. It may mean something else is out of alignment. So for me, I was scared. I was a cheater. I was an insecure person. So instead of fixing yourself all the time, a lot of times you need to go back to where the problem started. For me, it was my father. So I went back to my father, saw him, talked to him. But it didn't fix a lot, but it allowed me to kind of attack the demon. I went back to the demon, and then I came back home, and that started the pursuit of fixing myself. I recognized all my faults, and I called myself out. I recognized all my faults, and that's so important. You gotta stop calling other people out. What we do in life so well is we love judging other people. Fuck that shit, man. You gotta learn to call yourself out. And that's what I started doing every day in my life. Instead of looking at other people saying, he did this to me, she did this to me, all this shit's fucked up. I said, no, man, this is on you, brother. So I started fixing all my problems from the inside out. And it started there.
So taking the issue head on, I see a lot of people kind of avoiding that issue, and obviously it keeps coming up. So I think diving in and taking the issue head on is huge, and then fixing yourself and calling yourself out. I think we live in a soft society where not only do people not want to call themselves out, they feel bad challenging other people as well. So I remember you said something about you were not only scared of your shadow, but you would lie. You would lie to people to be accepted. And I see that now. So what do you tell that, not just the generation, but what do you tell people right now that want to break out, they want to level up, they want to be themselves, but they fear people and they're trying to fit in? Was it just continuously telling yourself that you need to level up or you need to break out of your own skin? What was it?
You know what I had to do, man? I mean, all those things are great. Leveling up, breaking out, it's great. But what I found out for me, all those words were just fucking words, man. I had to change how I viewed myself. So the reason why I was lying to people, because I viewed myself as a piece of shit. So I viewed others way above me. But the one thing that other people do so well is they lie too. A lot of people are pieces of shit. So this is the thing about, man, you have to be proud of yourself. And until you have pride in yourself, you're going to always be finding acceptance from other people. So for me, the second I was proud of myself and I realized where I was in life, I stopped holding people on a fucking pedestal. Because by me holding people on a pedestal, that made me start to lie because I felt insecure. I got to catch up. But instead of catching up for real, I would catch up on the lie. The lie would catch me up, and then that would haunt me again. So I kept on digging a deeper hole, saying, man, you're not that. You're not this. You're not that. So then that would catch up with me in the mirror. So it kept on snowballing into the fact, to the point where I said, fuck it, man. I got to change everything.
So fast forward, you're obviously you're thinking in your head, what can I do to push myself past my limits, to callous my mind, to get mentally tough? Where did the Navy SEAL come into play as far as from when you were giving that negative self-talk to saying, you know what, I have to get into the Navy SEALs. I have to do something that challenges me to get out of the skin that I was in, that I hated myself. What was the in-between? Did someone say you should do this? Did you see an article? Did you watch a video?
Yeah, so basically, I came home from work, man. I sprayed for cockroaches from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. I came home from work, turned the TV on, and there was this Discovery Channel show, man. Or I don't know if it's Discovery Channel. I don't know what it was on TV. So I'm looking at it. These guys going through Navy SEAL training, man. And they're getting the shit kicked out of them. Literally, man. I'm like, my God, man. And I realized at that point, for me to kind of start to peel back these layers, I'm going to have to suffer. I'm going to have to put myself through the most exhausting mentally and physically challenges I can, possibly. But not just once or twice, but I have to go through them over and over again. Because what I found out growing up was, you know, let's say you go out, man, and you run 10 miles and you're not in shape. That shit will check you real quick. If you go out and you're not in shape and you do something very daunting, a hard task, it immediately puts you in the hurt locker. And especially, so that's just 10-mile run. You go through something like SEAL training, Ranger school, you go through like a 100-mile race. And I'm not saying do this. I'm saying for me, you know what? Fatigue makes cowards of us all. That's a great saying. And it's true. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. So these hardcore fucking endurance races going through SEAL training, that made a coward out of me. But it also, me making a coward out of myself, it made me find out more and more of myself. And the more I found out about myself, the more I could challenge myself to be better.
Interesting. That's a different point of view than most people have. So let me ask you this, David. Pain and suffering is a huge part of growth, but people don't understand that. They still think it's bad. And that goes to the parents, the school systems. We can dive into that later. But when did you find out and figure out that you can use pain and suffering as an advantage, as a positive? Do you remember the moment or the moments where you're like, you know, I went through this pain and I feel more confident now? Do you remember those moments? And how can someone use that as positive versus, oh, failure's bad, pain's bad?
Right. Well, when I was about 13, 14 years old, my aunt would come to my house, and she literally lived in Las Vegas, and she ran 6 miles a day. And I'll never forget when I was young, man, she said, hey, come with me for a run. You know, I'm a young kid. I can run 6 miles with your old ass. Not a problem. Let's go. So we start running, man. I get to mile 1, and I'm exhausted. And so she keeps running. So I pick up again, start running again. So I start realizing, man, this shit sucks. I'm never gonna run. So that's when the spark kind of hit my head about how bad, you know, kind of physical pain can hurt somebody's soul. So this was hurting my soul. I'm like 12 or 13, 14, whatever it was. And I'm watching my aunt, who's like 50 years old, 60 years old, run around this little track for 6 miles. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, this old woman is sitting here smoking my ass. So not only was I physically defeated, I was mentally defeated. I was morally defeated. I was just defeated. And it bothered me to feel that way, but I did nothing about it because why? It hurt too bad to train. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that. So I started realizing at that time, man, I'm not going to do that. That sucks. So I started taking that path throughout my whole life. It's like I hated studying. So I was a dumb motherfucker. So I didn't study. Oh, studying sucks. I'm not going to do that shit. So I started realizing everything I didn't want to do, I went a different direction. And how I ended up was a fat, lazy, insecure, dumb motherfucker. I was like, my God, man, how did I get here? And I went back through my mind and said, my God, when you ran with your aunt, it hurt, so you stopped. When you started studying, you weren't that smart, so you stopped. When things got hard, you stopped every single time. So I started saying, my God, maybe on the other side of all of this is where I need to go. So that's kind of where, you know, it started with me getting to the worst spot in my life and then reflecting back on everywhere that I was comfortable going, it led me to being a fat, comfortable, dumb person. And so I started taking a different direction.
I mean, this is, if you look at the stats of society, David, and you see the mediocrity happening, I feel like that can be traced to a lot of what you're talking about. People taking the easy route and then not actually checking themselves. Then they're 25, then they're 30, then they're 40, then the validation happens. And all of a sudden, 95% of society is out of shape, broken, and frustrated.
Exactly.
So it comes back to doing what is not popular and doing what's tough in the moment and choosing growth. I love that. So this reminds me of the story too, the self-talk. You were trying to get into an ultra marathon, and I believe the person, the founder of the event or someone that was in charge said, if you want to do this, you need to run a certain amount of miles in 24 hours. And you hadn't really done that before. And at miles 74, 75, you literally, you were broken, but that self-talk kept you going. Can you bring back to that story? Because I think that hits home on the importance of self-talk, and that kind of set you up for a massive momentum swing from then on.
Yeah. So basically, man, so throughout my whole life, once I kind of changed my mindset and started realizing, man, I have to go towards the darkness to improve my mental. So I don't care if you're making money. I don't care if you're trying to be a SEAL, a ranger, trying to run 10 miles, trying to just be a better dad, a better mom. You've got to challenge yourself. So many people don't. So in challenging yourself is where you find all the answers. You find all the answers to every question that you will ever have in challenging yourself. So through my life, I started taking the different route. I started challenging myself. So through challenging myself, I started realizing how my mind worked. I started realizing how to motivate myself in dark times. The hardest thing to do in life is to motivate oneself alone. When you are alone and you're fucked up and you're suffering, the hardest thing in the world to do is pull something out of your fucking hat when there's no one around you clapping, no one around you cheering, no one around you saying, you're good, you're going to make it. So I've taken all this over a period of time now, and it puts me now at this race. So by now, I'm a Navy SEAL. I've lost over 106 pounds in less than 3 months. I've gone through Ranger School. I've gone through all these different schools, and I've kind of started to fine tune three hell weeks I was in. I started to fine tune mentality. So that's the thing. First, it's not. It doesn't happen overnight. So here I am right now. I fine tune my mentality, and this is the ultimate challenge for me. So I call this race director up, and I'm like trying to get into this race called the Badwater 135. It's a 135-mile race through Death Valley. And at the time, this is November of 2005, I probably ran 20 miles total the whole year. My workout was literally going to the gym, lift heavy, and 20 minutes every Sunday. 20 minutes every Sunday, I would do the elliptical trainer. That was my cardiovascular workout, man. Every Sunday, I do elliptical trainer. So I called this race director up named Chris Kosman. Chris Kosman was the race director for the Badwater 135. I want to do this race to raise money for the kids to go to college whose fathers died in war, special operators. So he says, hey, man, I call him up on a Wednesday. He says, hey, you know what, David, to qualify for my race, you got to do 100 miles in 24 hours or less. I'm like, what? Is that even possible, pretty much? So there's only 2 more races I could do before the deadline ended. And the deadline ended in, I think it was January. So this is in November, and he calls me out. So I call him on Wednesday. He says Saturday in San Diego, where I lived, is a race called San Diego One Day, where you run around a 20. So you run around a 1-mile track for 24 hours to see how many miles you can get. So I'm like, you know what, man? I did the math. It's about under a 15-minute mile. I could walk that. And I was like, you know what? It was the dumbest shit I ever thought, man. But I went out there, got a blue lawn chair, Ritz Crackers Mileplex, and I started going. So I'm going on this 1-mile track. I get to mile 50. I'm pretty broken. But let's cut to the chase. I get to mile 70, and I am fucked up so badly. I've never ran past 26 miles in my life. I didn't train for this race. I was a bodybuilder. My nutrition was Ritz Crackers and Mileplex. I was dizzy. I was dehydrated. I was all messed up. So I hadn't gone to the bathroom literally in 12 or 13 hours. So I sit down in this blue lawn chair, and I'm literally just sitting there, and I can't get up. So I literally piss blood down my leg, and I'm shitting up my back. And I have over 30 miles to go. So this is when, instead of quitting, like everybody else should have done, like I should have done maybe, but I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to quit yet. I might quit. So I put the idea in my mind. And so if I said I'm not going to quit yet, so this is where the self-talk comes into play. Self-talk is very important, but you have to give your mind a comfort zone. A comfort zone meaning that you might quit. So you put that little fragment in your mind to let your mind kind of relax. Because when you're telling your mind, you know what, I'm not going to quit, it starts to panic. Oh my God, we got 30 miles to go. I'm in the worst shape of my fucking life. You just take it step by step. Don't just shut it off. And that refers back to my 1-second decision. In the 1 second, the 1-second decision, we live a whole bunch of 1 seconds. In that 1 second, when I was shitting up my back and I was peeing blood down my leg, I was spazzing out. In that 1 second, when you spaz out, your adrenaline flows. Your adrenaline says, get the fuck out of here, man. You're not ready for this shit. Leave. Go. It's like that fight or flight mode where all you want to do, like in SEAL training when it's cold and you're miserable. Your mind says, get out of here. And you flee the scene. Versus fighting, you flee the scene. So I created a little space, a little gap. And that gap in that 1 second is relax your mind. When I was pissing blood and I was shitting, I was like, okay, relax your mind, man. This is a bad situation. You're fucked up. But just relax. So I relaxed my mind. So instead of quitting, I said, you know what, man? Let's just sit here for a while, relax. Your blood pressure's messed up. Let's get some food. Let's hydrate. Let's clean yourself up. Let's kind of doctor yourself back up. You might quit. That's still in the back of your mind. But let's just keep on doctoring yourself up. So the whole thing about this is calming down. You got to calm yourself down. So I'm calmed down. I'm relaxing. But now I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm eating. I'm rehydrating. Let me see if I can stand up. Oh, my blood pressure's okay. I can stand up now. You know what? Let me see if I can walk 1 mile. This would be pretty amazing if I can walk 1 mile after being damn near dead. Worst situation in my entire life. Let me see if I can walk 1 mile. So I walk 1 mile. I'm like, okay, my God, this is amazing. So now I'm starting to feed off of that 1 mile I walked after being fucked up. That 1 mile is 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. And now I'm starting to dig into the cookie jar. The cookie jar is all the things I've overcome in my entire life. And this has become one more thing. You got to dig into that mental mindset of like, my God, I overcame racism, overcame bullying. I taught myself how to read and write. I used to be a big time stutterer. I had an abusive father. It's all those things that it didn't fucking kill you. You are still here. We forget how badass we are in those tough times. You got to remind yourself of this shit. Remind yourself that you're still here. Remind yourself of the things you've overcome. Then that gives you another mile. And then after that next mile, it starts to add up and add up. Before you know it, man, 31 miles later, man, 101 miles in 19 hours and 6 minutes. I completed that race, man. And I was fucked up afterwards. But the mind is truly the most amazing thing. But that's the one thing that we don't use enough of.
So people say, and that's an amazing story that inspires me every time. People say, David, too, that they are challenging themselves. I'm pushing myself. Is there, and a lot of times they're really not pushing themselves to the limit. Is there anything that you can share with them? How do you know when you're really pushing yourself? Because right there, you know that you gave it all you got running 30 miles after you felt like you were broken and almost dead. A lot of people think they're challenging themselves, including myself, but sometimes we might not be. Is there anything that you kind of measure it against?
Yeah, you measure it against yourself and you measure it against how you feel. You know when you're pushing yourself, when you dread it. When you have that feeling of everyday dread of like, my God, but people say, why are you doing it if you dread it? There has to be something on the other side of this shit. People ask me, why did you almost kill yourself in that 100? What was it for? Why did you do that? What the fuck is wrong with you? So before I became a Navy SEAL, I'm answering your question right now. So before I became a Navy SEAL, I knew to do this. In the physical state I was in, I was 297 pounds. I was out of shape. I was fucked up. I knew before I went into the crushing myself to train for it, to get to the point where I could even get in the door to try out to be it, I knew I was going to break myself down mentally and physically, and it might end up fucking me up permanently. You sit down with yourself. You ask yourself all these questions. Is it worth it? And once you come up with that determining factor, okay, yes, this is worth it. Because on the other end of all this shit, this is how I'm going to feel. This is my reward. For some of you out there want to make fucking money. Out there, it may be a few million, couple million, whatever the fuck it may be. It might be. For me, it wasn't about money. For me, it's about changing the reflection in the mirror. Is it worth breaking myself down to a fine powder? And I said to myself, it is. And I dreaded it every fucking day, but I had to have a reminder. So that reminder was, is it worth it? So in those dark times when you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to do this anymore, you got to go back to the time when you sat on the couch with a glass of water or whatever the fuck you drink, and you went through all the pros and cons of this is what's going to happen to me if I do this shit. And then when you're in that dark moment, it may take you 5 years to get to where you want to go, and tons of fucking dark moments. You got to go back to the couch when you sat down and say, you know what, motherfucker? You had a conversation with yourself and you remind yourself, okay, I knew this was going to suck. So, but it has to be something worth it to you to put yourself through the grind. And that's how you know it's worth it. That's how you know how deep you're going. Because if it's not sucking, if it's not painful, every fucking day, you're not doing the right thing.
Let's go a different direction. What are some consequences of not pushing yourself, of settling?
Okay. It's very easy. For me, I would have been 400 pounds by now. I would have had zero money, zero pride, zero self-esteem. I would have nothing. I might even be in the grave right now. Who knows? The consequences of not pushing yourself is basically, if you're any kind of human being, you're going to live with the fact of what if? What if I had done this? What if I had done that? It's a constant haunting and questioning yourself of when you're too old to do it now. When you're at a point in your life where you can't do it, the consequences will haunt you for the rest of your life. You will okay, I have a buddy of mine who quit in Navy SEAL Hell Week. Great guy. It's in my book. It's in my book. His name is Sean. This haunts him every fucking day. He's a great family. He's a great athlete. He's an officer in the Navy. He has a great life. The consequence of him not going another 3 days, just 3 more fucking days. The guy's 44 years old, has lived his whole fucking life. 3 more days. That's all it was. The consequences has haunted him his entire life. His entire life. For 20 years, this has haunted this man. So the consequences will come up to you and haunt you when you least expect it.
Huge, man. I hope people really comprehend this, because this is something that I want to talk about, the 40% rule next, but this is something that is such a game changer as far as people not having regret, because that's one thing that scares me to death. And when I was younger, I wanted to make sure I wasn't 70, 80, 90 with regret, even an ounce of it. And I see too many people having that, and it scares me. So with the self-talk, David, one more rep, one more minute, one more mile. Is this voice in your head still every time? Or have you created such strong habits based off your past action that you can push yourself without having the voice? Or is it still always there? Like, do you always still push yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra miles?
No, I don't do that anymore, because why? I have quit several times in my life. I'm not superhuman. A lot of people.
Are you sure?
Yeah, right. A lot of people want to put a title on me that, my God, you're just a God-given ability. You have some special this, some special that. And what it is, it gets people out of jail. It allows them to just put a title on me, which makes them say, oh, you know what? He's just a special human being. I don't need to do that. So basically, no, I don't do that anymore, because I know the feeling of quitting. I've quit too many times. I know the feeling of being haunted. You know, I talk about Sean Dobbs, that guy that quit in Hell Week, and he still calls me all the time about, how he's haunted by that. This happened in 2001. Wow. It's 2019. This motherfucker talks about it. He thinks about it every day of his life. And so when I'm out there in these different events that I do, and just in life period, I know if I quit, what's going to happen to me. I've been there. I've done that. Everybody's Sean Dobbs. Everybody's a Sean Dobbs. Everybody has quit something. But it's those true men and women of the world. If it doesn't bother you, you have a real problem. You will never be great if what the fuck you quit doesn't bother you. You will never be great if it doesn't haunt you, and you cannot sleep until you complete, or at least go back to what you quit. And instead of me going back to what I quit, I'm like, fuck it. It hurts too bad. I'm going to do it the first time, every time. Because I don't want to have to wake up tomorrow thinking about doing it the next day.
I had a breakthrough literally a year or two ago, realizing that the people that have the past that you can't even imagine, the people that have the rough past, the brutal past, you've had that. And thinking about the Eminems, like the Oprahs, the Jay-Z's, Jim Carrey, Woody Harrelson, The Rock, if you study these people past, they are scary, treacherous. And their purpose and mission now is so big that they're not only creating a legacy, but they're pushing for more every day, David. And I ran a direct sales team, and we had thousands of sales reps. And I saw the difference in the people that had the rough pass and the hunger they had, and some of the people that were handed everything. Right. Their parents were already millionaires. And I realized getting all my hunger from a lot of the challenges and failures in my life, it's mind-boggling to me to realize that a lot of the people with the tough pasts, they have the cookie jar to go to, and they do use it, and they reach greatness. So is there something you can tell somebody that maybe doesn't have a rough past, that felt like they were at a disadvantage because their family gave them everything, they had an easy childhood, and now they're like, I don't know how to get any hunger? Because I've seen that before.
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. And the first way is true, man. A lot of people with a bad past, they have a lot of cookies, man. That cookie jar is overflowing. But it also is this, man. A lot of guys with a lot rough past, you see them on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they become a statistic. So it's all about what you want. So a lot of people who have a great childhood, who come up with all the money, come up with the spoon. You know, hey, here you go, here you go. You have a refrigerator full of everything. You have everything going for you, man. The way you got to think about it is this. That is right there. That's how you become great. You got to look and say, my God, I have been trained to be great my entire life. It's how you look at it. You have been in school your entire life, your family, all the role models you've had, all the money you've had. You may have a big cookie jar, but who the fuck needs a cookie jar when you're fucking making the cookies? So now you got to flip it and say, okay, now I've started way up here. Now that is now your bar. Your bar is, man, I have millions already. I have millions. So now how can I get billions? So I had nothing. I wanted to get here. So everybody has to understand your platform, your playing platform is different. Like what hurts a lot of great athletes. I work with a lot of athletes on mental toughness. What hurts great athletes is the fact that they were a great athlete when they were born. They were born talented. So what I start to do is I start to drip a little bit of suffering into that talent. So what helps people out is even if you come from a great childhood, a great background, you don't have many cookies, but you still have demons. You still have demons. There's things that you don't want to do. There's things that, why? Because you had so much, a plethora of everything. You didn't have to do it. Your family allowed you to live a nice life. But in your mind, you know what still haunts you. We all have these things. We all have these things that bother us. If you want to become mentally tough and start having cookies, you got to start failing. You got to start failing. You got to start challenging yourself. You got to start putting yourself out there. Stop looking at the road of like, oh my God, you know what? I don't want to do this because I'm going to be embarrassed. Start being embarrassed. It's okay to be embarrassed. That's how you start to grow. So no matter where you're at, you can always go back to failure. Failure is how you grow.
You talk about many people are operating at 40% of their capacity or their capability, and people know your stuff. A lot of them have read your book. They've watched the videos, so they know that when you callous your mind and get out of your comfort zone, that's the only way to move beyond it. And I know it's all over your book. I want to ask a different question. We have a generation now that they almost look at suffering and pain as a bad thing. Yep. Even parents don't want their kid to struggle. They think that they don't want their kid to have any pain, and they want them to always be happy and loving life. But what's it going to take for people to understand suffering and pain is not only good, but it's needed? Because I just see it where people are avoiding failure and they're avoiding pain. And then you fast forward, David, and they're 25 or 30 struggling, doing a job they hate, and they don't have any hunger.
Right.
What needs to change?
Honestly, man, they gotta start seeing it as a pathway of growth. Literally, man. Like this is one thing that I cannot. I wish I can get my brain and put in everybody's head. Because you know why? Because they would see, like the way I talk very gross. I talk in a way that either you love or you hate. I'm very polarized in either way. You hate me or you love me. But you will not make it in life Because what happens is, man, the umbilical cord gets cut away. And no matter how much your mom and dad love you, you're going to go on your own. And the world doesn't give a fuck about you, man. And if you don't have that mindset of, you know what, I'm coming the fuck after you, and that mindset comes from, I don't mind failing. I don't mind suffering. I don't mind pain. If you don't have a dog mentality, you're going to lose. You are going to lose. I don't care how you believe, how you think, you will lose. You come up against a guy like me or another guy that looks at you like you are a weak motherfucker. There is no way your sorry ass fucking mindset can ever compete with the motherfucker who is relentlessly attacking you and does not give a fuck about your personal feelings or how you feel, because while you're hurt, we want to see you hurt. You are in a world where people fucking hurt you to see how you're going to react. You want to make those millions of dollars? You want to be a big badass Navy SEAL, whatever? The whole object of the game is how much can you suffer? Can you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Can you work 22-hour days? Your mommy and daddy aren't there anymore. And when that realization hits you and you haven't suffered before, you haven't been in pain before, life will fuck you up fast. And you will find out real fast, I don't have the tools. Oh my God. How is this guy so much better than me? Because he suffered. He suffered. He willingly strengthened his mind through suffering. And it's those times when you start to question yourself, like, my God, I have a guy that I know. He wanted to be a cop. And guess what happened to him? He kept on getting rejected. He kept on getting rejected. He kept on getting rejected. Guess what he did? He couldn't get over it. It started haunting him. I got rejected 1,000,000 times. Guess what I did? I went back for 1,000,001. You start to learn, not get used to rejection. You know how to handle rejection. You know how to handle all these disappointments in life. You don't sit back and cry and say, oh my God, it's just not for me. Oh my God, life is so hard. No. You say, fuck it, Roger that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to try over there. Your mindset starts to change. So without suffering, without pain, without all these things, guess what happens to you? You become a loser in life. You don't know how to handle the hard times. And that's period dot. That's just the name of the game, man.
Well, a lot of people want to be like the athletes. They see greatness and they want to be just like them, but they don't want to suffer like them. And I'm realizing that too as I get older. You created this alter ego, Goggins. Kobe has that Mamba mentality. I think everybody needs that in life. Do you remember why and when you created that Goggins, where it's like, I'm not taking any shit from anybody and it's time to get mine in a way?
Yeah, I do remember. I was a fat kid. And once again, don't mistake how I talk as like I'm some badass. I was a little pussy ass bitch like a lot of people. I just knew it. I knew it. And so the baddest people in the world are the ones that know I'm a little punk. Those are some of the baddest people in the world that say, I'm going to fix it. So I started fixing it. And I realized, you know what? David Goggins is a kid that is mentally abused. That's a kid that is looking for a comfort zone, looking for his little binky, looking for a little blanket. Whenever things get hard, he wants to disguise himself and start to lie and start to hide. I said, you know what, man, we can't do this anymore, man. We got to be a gladiator in this world. So we got to develop a guy that can do this. So Goggins is that guy you see run those 100 miles, who shits on himself and went through 3 hell. That's Goggins. That's the guy that I had to invent to handle the real world. The real world is a nasty, nasty place. As nice as you want to make it, you have to invent a new person, man. So it's like you talk, that Mamba mentality. I even took it further than that. I took it much further than that. You have to literally get in your mind, paint a picture. We're all artists. Paint a picture of who you want to be, of how you want to see yourself in the mirror, of how you want to act in hard times. And then you have to create that human being. And that's all I did, man. I created a human being, but it wasn't that easy. It sucked. It was very hard. It was daunting. And it's a daily task.
So you talk about taking people's souls, which is part of that Goggins mentality.
Yes, sir.
So that goes what society, it goes beyond what people can even comprehend, as most people don't put themselves in tough situations. You're saying put yourself in tough situations, push past a tough situation, and instead of just finishing, like take the other person's soul,
Right.
which is a different mentality overall. So you stated during Hell Week, and I want every single person on this call, if you don't know, which most of you do, to look up what Hell Week is. Okay, first of all, not right now, but after the call, just so you know. But you stated during Hell Week, you tried to destroy the instructors.
Yes.
Like you would scream, like you can't hurt us. And you would scream that they can't affect you because they've gone through Hell Week and they hated it. You wanted to show them, you almost wanted to make them believe that they couldn't hurt you at all, which is obviously your book's called Can't Hurt Me. And I'm sure there's a connection, but what were you trying to do by taking their souls?
So I will give you the story, man, but I was trying to literally, you know how, once again, you're about to fight the baddest motherfucker in the world. He owns space in your mind. He owns space. He now has a portion of your brain where you constantly think about this guy every day. He's not thinking about you, but you're thinking about him. And I know that a lot of us think that way. When you're a weak, fragile human being, you can do a live autopsy on your own mind. I was a weak motherfucker. So I knew how I thought in all these situations. I'm like, I'm not the only guy that thinks this way. No way in hell. All of us think this way, at least most of us. So when I was in Hell Week, you got to find ways to get by. And not just get by, you want to thrive in the worst of times. That's how you start to dominate. You start to dominate. And so in situations like a Hell Week, it's a situation, man, where it's a war. It's a battle. You are going to war with yourself and also, to me, against the instructors. So we're Wednesday night. So Hell Week starts on Sunday and ends on Friday. Wednesday, everybody's all fucked up, man. You are fucked up on Wednesday. And so from pass down, they tell you on Wednesday, you're dragging ass. And I knew what the instructors were doing. The instructors would sit back and there's three shifts. There's an AM shift, an afternoon shift, and a night shift. And every 8 hours, the instructors would change shifts. They weren't going through Hell Week. They were just beating the shit out of us. We were up for 130 hours. At this time, we were up for 3 days. And so the new shift comes in, and they're drinking their coffee, and it's cold as shit outside. And they have their parkas on. They're all nice and warm, and they're kind of smiling at us because we're all fucked up and broke down. So, they're enjoying this moment, as they should. They're not wet. They're reflecting back on when they were going through SEAL training, and they're pretty happy about it. I'm not doing this shit. Fuck that. So they're reminiscing back on Wednesday, man. Wednesday fucking sucked, man. Remember fucking this shit, man, Wednesday? So they're all amongst each other talking about it. And so we're all coming out of med check. Med checks where they check you out, make sure you're not dying. And, we all have like a cold or a flu. We're all jacked up. So we're all wet again. And we're in the, so this evolution here was to hold your boat over the head. 6 men holding the boat over the head. And right now we're all weak and we're fragile. So the boat's coming down. The boat's touching our head. And every time the boat would touch our head, pick the fucking boat up. These instructors start yelling at everybody. So they were singling one boat crew out, a really weak boat crew. Our boat crew was pretty strong. Boat crew 2. We had Chris Kyle in it. If you don't know Chris Kyle, he's an American sniper. A guy named Bill Brown. They're all featured in my book. So I look at the guys. I was the boat crew leader. I look at my guys and say, we're going to fuck these fucking instructors up. We can't fight them, but we can definitely play some fucking head games with them. So I knew that they thought everybody's weak, but I'm like, no, today we're not going to be weak. We're going to find some strength. And we're going to use our strength to motivate us and use their strength after we see them fucked up by us being so strong. So these guys didn't know what I was talking about. This is where taking souls came into place. So I'm saying they want us to pick the boat up over our head. We're going to start boat pressing it. So we're going to start literally bench pressing this boat and lofting overhead, just tossing it. While everybody can barely hold it up, we're going to start tossing this motherfucker. So the first few times, it's like an accordion. One side's going up, one side's down. The guys are all fucking weak. But after a while, I'm yelling, you can't hurt boat crew 2. You can't hurt. So after a while, it starts to, when the motherfuckers getting hyped, it's a hype room now. I'm hyping everybody up. So my boat crew's starting to get hyped. So the boat starts to fucking loft off our head. So the instructors walk down to our boat crew too, and they're looking at us, and the look in their fucking eyes looked like someone just like took their soul. It looked like they were questioning themselves. Like, oh my God, man. When I was in Hell Week on Wednesday, I was pathetic. I was weak. So our boat crew fed off of that. And I turned around to my boat crew and said, hey, these motherfuckers, these instructors won't be having sex tonight. They're like, why? I go, because we fucking own space in their fucking head. I go, tonight they'll be thinking about us versus thinking about having sex tonight. So it was a mind game that I played. The instructors didn't know I was playing it. My boat crew did. It was between me and my boat crew, and it was a way of just kind of using energy all around us to fuel ourselves to be great. And that was taking souls, man.
That's a whole different mentality of how to approach a challenging situation. So I had to bring that up because it's a different way to view life, and it's something that can get you through the tough times, but come out on the other side a whole different level of animal. You know what I mean?
Well, think about this, man, real quick. If you're in a fight and that fucking cat, the big bully at school, the bass motherfucker in school is beating the shit out of you, and you keep on getting up every single time he pummels your ass, what do you think is going to happen to that guy's mindset? He could be like, you know what, man, that'll be the last fight you ever get into in that school. I guarantee it. Be the last fight. So that's the mentality, man. You have to learn to fight with all your might and start to dominate someone else's mind versus your mind being dominated by them. No one wants to fight an indestructible motherfucker. Whether it be in business, whether it be in a real fight, whether it be in running or swimming or whatever the fuck in school, a person that is relentlessly coming after you, no one wants to fuck with, ever.
You get up and you start smiling, they're going to think you're a psycho.
Exactly. Fight's over.
I love it, man. I have some questions from the Academy members. I'll just kind of, we'll nail through them and you could just answer them. Quincy wants to know, expand on the idea of busting through the door of life instead of just kind of peeking through. He has overcome so many self-imposed and internal beliefs, but this is something he still struggles with. And his family also struggles with this. And he wants to overcome this to be an example for them. So kind of talk about the idea of busting through versus kind of peeking.
Okay, so I'm giving an example. When a lot of people go overseas, they have to do room clearing. They got clue, so you don't know what's on the other side of that door. So overseas, when you're in combat, a lot of people go overseas, and now it's about clearing houses, clearing that house. So if you peek in that door, and someone sees you peek in that door, they have the advantage on you now. They now see you peeking in that fucking door, which means you're not being aggressive. But if you put a fucking charge on that door, a charge is a bomb, and you blow that motherfucking door off, and you send 4 guys in there very fast, at a fast pace, you now have the advantage over them. What I'm trying to say is you have to attack life. If you peek in that fucking door, that means you're not committed. When you open that fucking door and you charge in, that shows full commitment, which means that your mind is engaged in what the fuck you're trying to do. When you're peeking, that means you're still hesitant on what you want to do in life. You have to open the door, blow it up, and charge in that fucking door full steam. It's a mentality. It's all about a mentality. Don't peek. Be the one that blows the fucking door off and goes in.
Tim wants to know, and I'm sure you get this question a lot because we had multiple people ask it, but obviously being mental toughness, one of your categories of expertise, how do you best set aside temporary emotions or ignore emotions, as I am an emotional person by nature, and I've been working on not reacting, or very least not making a decision till I'm done reacting. How do you set aside all emotion in some of the highest pressure situations a human can encounter, like war, things like that?
So I'm an emotional person also, have been my whole life. The one thing you got to look for is the tactical advantage in life. The tactical advantage is you know that you're emotional. That is a tactical advantage for you. You know that you're an emotional person, but there's a lot of people out here who are emotional people. You have to realize that that weakness of yours, you know it. That's now something that you have to work on. Being an emotional person, a lot of us are. But that's where you get the tactical advantage of knowing, okay, if you're emotional, what have you done to not be so emotional in that time? So you have to really start working on that yourself. And so what I did about that was start to do, once again, I went back to, okay, start to callous in your mind. How you become less emotional is not be so soft on yourself. So a lot of us, once again, we're soft on ourselves. And I took it very small. I hated waking up in the morning. Hated it. So I started waking up at 4 o'clock every single morning. Why is that? It starts to develop those mental calluses. And slowly but surely, you stop feeling sorry for yourself because you start to do things you don't like to do, like wake up early. Let's say you're a nasty motherfucker and don't like to clean your house. You start to do these small things every single day. Before you know it, you're not so fragile. But most of us are fragile because we start to choose that fragile route all the time. Oh, I don't want to get up. Oh my God, it's early. So guess what happens? You sleep in. And you do this towards everything in your life. So you never start to build. Like if you don't go to the gym, you're gonna be weak. If you don't strengthen your mind, it's gonna be weak. So every day you start to do something that sucks every day, and that gets you out of that.
Here's more of a business question, David. Art wants to know, 6 months ago, he runs a very successful auto detailer shop in his area, one of the top. 6 months ago, we had 133 auto detailers in my area. Now we have over 1,200. In an area that's become saturated, diluting, and devaluing the industry, do I weather the storm, or do I continue to lay low and let the dust clear? Most of these guys aren't making enough profit to sustain business and usually burn themselves out quickly. But I want to know what I can do to rise above the noise and continue to dominate.
Well, for me, man, I always weather the storm. I'm the kind of guy that's I'm a patient dude. You got to look at all the stats in life. So what I do, man, is I sit back in that 1 second decision while everybody's panicking, everybody's freaking the fuck out. This is where I excel. I'm freaking out also. I'm normal. I freak out, but in your freak out, say, okay, let's look at everything. Once again, take a different vantage point, sit back and say, okay, how much money do I have? How much money do these motherfuckers have? You got to start looking at everything. Can I weather the storm? Do I have what it takes? So look at every single thing. Make a list, a humongous list of, can I weather the storm or can't I? And if you can weather the storm, weather that motherfucker and stay in it, be patient, because at the end of the day, I guarantee it will pan out for you. But I can't answer that question for you. Make sure you make a list, calm yourself down. People are attacking you, attacking the industry. Understand that. Roger that. Game on. Get a high vantage point, look down upon everybody else and say, okay, can I outlast these motherfuckers? So that's how you got to look at it. Look at it from a tactical point of view. Be strategic. And in the worst of times, be strategic. It's very hard to do versus knee jerk.
Mark, another business question. This is regarding your book. Mark Nendick, he says, first off, I'm a huge fan. I've read the book and listened to the audiobook 3 times. My question is, how did you have the courage to self-publish the book and not take the easy money from the publishers? I think it's so important to get into a place where you believe in yourself and your mission so much that you can't be bought. Congrats on all the success.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I want to tell you right now, that was a tough decision. So I made about $70,000 a year growing up, man. Or so I'm 44 years old now. I'm not about money. This is a hard thing, man. I'm about pride. I'm about dignity. I'm about self-respect. So it makes it easier for me because a lot of people get the low-hanging fruit. They offer me $300,000 for my book. And if you're not about money and you're about wanting to own your own product, I wanted to own David Goggins. I wanted to own Can't Hurt Me. So I looked at it from a very different vantage point. A lot of people want money. I want David Goggins. I want myself. So it was an easier decision for me because I sat back on that couch. It's very important on that couch to sit back and say, what do you want out of this book? What do you want out of your company? What do you want out of your life? What do you want? What do you want? And once you get that, you go full steam ahead. And people, oh my God, you're stupid. You're dumb. What are you doing turning on this money? It's the dumbest decision. You'll never do this. You'll never do that. So I knew that I wanted to own my life story. I wanted to own Can't Hurt Me. I was very dedicated and passionate about the life I lived. And it made it very easy for me to turn down $300,000 and to say, would you do all this in this book again for $300,000? I said, fuck no. So I said, it's not for sale. Whether I make $1 or I make $80 million on the book, I don't care. It's not for sale. So make your decision, stick with your decision, and have the balls to be a man about that decision.
Amazing answer. And Ryan has a question that I think you piggyback off that. He says, first off, thank you for being on our podcast recently. Order of Man. He's Ryan's partner. Well received. People loved it. Second, you mentioned in your book the power of operating in your own perception or your own perception of reality. In other words, some people refer to as difficult is a walk in the park for you. How do you recommend that people go about training themselves to live and operate consistently in their own world? And I see you online and offline. You are in your own world. Like
Yes,
you
sir.
do you because you know who you are. And the fact that you turned down 300K like this because you wanted to own you is very admirable. But what's the fastest way that you can train people to have that mentality?
You know, it's real easy. We all know people who you look at and say, that motherfucker is delusional. That is a delusional motherfucker. Because what we start to do in life is we start to develop a reality that we want to have. Not the real fucking reality of life. It's a reality that we want to have. Like, you know, like if people aren't accepting you or whatever, we develop a different reality. My thing is this. I have developed a true reality of life that I'm not the best. I'm going to suck at different things. Not everybody's going to fucking like me, and that's okay. You have to be fine with people finding you gross and incomprehensible. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with being criticized. You have to be okay with all these things because you have to find out who the fuck are you. I found out who David Goggins is. I'm not a person that everybody's going to like. That's fine. Once you see that, you no longer develop a false reality. You develop a true reality in which you live in. Like, look, I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to be real. I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be true. I'm going to be me. Whether I make money, I lose money, I have friends, I don't have friends. I'm going to tell you what I feel, whether you go online, whether you go on TV, whether whatever. You got to, once again, sit back on that fucking couch and say, do I want to be me? And then you live in that world. And some people will come your way and some people will say, go fuck yourself. And you say, Roger that, Merry fucking Christmas.
I like the Roger that. I think you've used that a lot to really block certain things and to use that as motivation. I don't want to say the word motivation, but use that as hunger and drive.
Right.
Yeah. So we can talk about motivation too, but I have a question that's a little more personal from Matt Meyer. You talk about suffering is required to grow, but what kept you from going in the beginning when the results were uncertain and unknown? Was there no other choice for you? For context, when I felt like I was at a huge trajectory and doing well in life, and I was finding myself forcing myself out of my comfort zone, I was actually diagnosed with stage 4 GIST cancer, which unfortunately does not have a cure at this time. Thus now I wake up every day outside of the comfort zone. No longer is it intentional choice tied to the back end, which has made it difficult at times to intentionally seek that further discomfort in order to grow because of what he's been diagnosed with. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what, man? Once again, first of all, man, I hate to hear what you're going through. I've never dealt with that before, man. That's a whole different world, brother. But what I've done my whole life is I've literally competed against David Goggins. I've not my whole life, obviously, not my whole life, but when I started figuring things out, you're in a war. You're in a war right now, and no one else understands your war. No one else. I don't even care if somebody else has what you have. No one else understands your war. Like a lot of people say, my God, man, well, I have this, but they have it so much worse than me. Fuck them. This is what you have. This is what the fuck you're dealing with right now. So you have to literally, this is your world. This is your world, your war. This is your world. You have to deal with it yourself. However you find the challenge in that, you have to learn how to find that challenge and fight within that. If I had something like that, everything I had, if whatever the cure is, whether the cure is not, Can I live longer? Can I be that guy that makes it further? Can I be the one that overcomes this obstacle? That's my mentality with everything in life. Can I be the dumb black kid that can't read and write, that's obese, that got beat to fucking shit by his dad? Can I be the guy that then at 44 is talking to you all? You have to find strength and motivation in the darkest of times in your life. And that's what motivates you. That's what drives you, is what you have. The very thing that is fucking you up is the very thing that should strengthen you to be the baddest motherfucker on the planet. I know it sounds hot. How do you do that? Sit back long enough and you'll think about it. How many people can do what you're trying to do or willing to do with what you have? Most people are sitting back, woe is me, life is hard. No, fuck that. Let's see how far we can go. That's all about, you got to change that mindset into a warrior's mentality.
How refreshing. We'll end with this because now you got to go. How refreshing is it, David? I just want you to share. How refreshing is it to go what you've gone through and to just be yourself and to not worry about what people think, not worry about social media, not worry about others' expectations? How refreshing is it to live in your own reality?
You know what, man? It's the best feeling in the world, because living how I used to live when I was in everybody else's reality, it sucked. It was exhausting. I couldn't keep my lies straight. I couldn't keep my shit straight. Me being who I am now, I literally turned down so much shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm David Goggins through and through, and it's the most refreshing, rewarding feeling of all time, man. It is. I mean, it just feels good to be like, hey, take it or leave it.
Hey, man, I want to really appreciate you for going through what you've gone through and for leading by example and for walking the walk. I want to share this real quick, guys. I challenge you, and you guys know I do not promote much, especially books, because most books really are theory and they're BS. This is one of the best books ever written on not just mental toughness, but how to push yourself past limits. Amazon, get it. Leave him a review as well. Can't hurt me. Why should they get this book, David? What makes it different? And I already know, but I want you to share why you created this and what it could do for people.
Well, that book, even though I'm on the front cover and it has my story, what it does is basically, I'm not the hero of that fucking book. That book is about me, but I'm not the hero. The hero is you. So I force people. That book forces you. We all have these nice, kind fucking books out here about finding peace without going through suffering, about all this fucking bullshit. Like you said, theory. That book ain't theory, motherfuckers. That book is straight up me going through shit, put myself in hell, and then I became the practitioner through hell. And I'm giving you all tools on how to, we all like to fix things on the surface. We love to stay on the surface of the water. Because why? On the surface is air. On the surface of the water, there's air, man. You can get your head above that motherfucker. You can breathe. So we try to handle things on the surface. I take you down under the fucking water and I drown your ass. I take you down there in that fucking deep, dark water where it's cold in the Pacific Ocean, and I hold you down there where you start to guppy. Y'all know what guppying is. When you have no more breath and you try and get that last ring off the bottom of the pool and you can't breathe, you're searching for air. I make you find yourself. I make you look at yourself in that accountability mirror. I make you call yourself out. I make you get real. I make you get raw. I make you stop blaming your mom, blaming your dad, blaming your teachers, blaming your uncle, blaming your aunt, blaming your best friend, blaming your girlfriend, blaming your husband. You start to blame yourself. You start to get real and raw with who the real person is at fault.
I could have a 5-hour conversation with you. There's so much value, the accountability mirror and all these other things, but I wanted to save a lot for this. And if you just look at the reviews, guys, people tear up. It changes their life. And some people say, I can't believe he's cussing. I'm like, why are you reading this book if you know he cusses and you're still reading it? That's a fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
People are, again, my damn nerves that shit. Why are you listening to David Goggins if you want some PG-13 shit?
I was laughing at that. He cusses too much. I'm like, of course that's who he is. Why would you read the book? But I strongly recommend this, man. And once again, I really respect you at the highest level. And respect, I think, is too easily thrown around these days. But you're someone who deserves it at the highest level for what you've gone through, how to actually get out there and share your message and impact millions of people. So thank you for going through the hell weeks and all that stuff you've done to come out on the other side, to be an inspiration to not just change people's lives, but to make them better and for helping them become the best version of themselves through action. So any last words, David, for everyone watching? Any action they should take right away when watching this? Anything else on your mind?
Yeah, so most of your followers are pretty young, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you right now, man, your age group is fucking hard. It is. You are the most confused you will ever be in your fucking life. You just left your mom and dad. They take care of all your shit. And now you're out here and you're hearing these voices in your head about go left, go right. You're not the best at shit. You don't have much money, or you do have money. You're all over the place. You're either weak-minded. We all were millennials at one time. We were all in that age group of fucking poopy pants and snot under our fucking nose and wet behind the ears. And this time right now where you're at was a time I made the biggest difference in my life. From 19 to 26, I was the most fucked up, but I also made the biggest jumps. This is where I started to create David Goggins and now into Goggins. So really, this is the hardest time of your life, but if you make the right fucking move right now, you'll be sitting back in your early 40s, early 50s, whatever, sitting back, kicking it. So right now, you gotta fucking really embrace the storm, embrace the suck, get through this time frame, get your head on straight, and I guarantee you, man, at the end of it all is a glorious fucking time.
Start with this book, guys. The legend, David Goggins. Thank you so much, man. Much respect. Let me know if there's anything I can do to continue help spreading the message, spreading your word. Much respect, man. And thanks again for taking the time to speak to our game changers.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. Stay hard, brother.
Amazing. Talk to you soon.
Later.
Wow. I know you guys are giving a lot of feedback. You guys are fired up and excited. One of the best calls we've ever had, and we've had a lot of game-changing calls with some legends. So my challenge, what's the one or two takeaways that you feel right now are most relevant to your biggest challenge in business and life? Based on what stage you're at, write that down and take action on it. Anything that shifted your emotional frequency. The goal is to operate with massive clarity, but understand that you need to take action on this right away. Not theory. Don't think about it. Really take action on what you know you should be doing. I want to thank you guys for being a part of this powerful community. I appreciate you. Let's continue to think and act like game changers, and have an amazing rest of your day. And we'll talk to you guys soon.